you need to know what you love in work and the things that really motivate you. There's plenty of stuff we all have to do every day that is not as much fun, but to make sure that there's enough, joy and excitement and interest for you personally in your job, I think that's, critical to success.
You're listening to the Building Better Futures podcast, where innovation meets inspiration. In each episode, host Eric Hurani journeys alongside notable thought leaders who are shaping the future, cultivating exceptional work cultures, and nurturing the next generation of trailblazers. We aim to spark inspiration by engaging in dialogue with leaders from groundbreaking companies, innovative projects, and exceptional teams. Our goal is to empower individuals to positively impact those around them and leave a lasting legacy of positive change in our communities and society at large. Let's dive in together and explore what it takes to build better futures, one conversation at a time.
Today, I'm joined by Kirsten Sibilia, Managing Partner at Dattner Architects. Hey, Kirsten, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Of course, I'm doing well. And, it's funny, and I love New York City, and I'm a big transportation advocate, I would say, so I use it. And so we ran into each other last week, and how amazing is that, right? In the city well, I guess as technically small as New York City, but as big as New York City, you run into each other. So
it is such a great place to practice, right? It's so vibrant, and I think our community here is so strong too. Right. We're both on the board for New York Building Congress Foundation, these opportunities to really connect in all different ways has really been a real, beautiful part for me of my career here.
I do. I love that about our industry is that we have actual impact on people's lives, right? Like, and almost always in a positive way, right? The things we are building or working on or designing are for improvement. They're for the public benefit, and or even for the private benefit, but still it impacts the public in some way. So I do love it. And we're going to get to a lot of that. So let's jump right in. Let's get to, I always like to start the show with some good news and gratitude. It's the way I like to start meetings in our office. And I love to do it with the show because everyone's always got something positive to share. And so I'll ask you, is there any personal good news or gratitude you'd like to share with me in the audience?
I was just talking with someone we just hired, and they've just moved to New York and starting their career. And that same kind of excitement about New York has so much to offer. It's such a great city. And I am, things happen for a reason and you don't always plan them. And I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for being here in this just really incredible city.
It's awesome. I do also, I love New York, and we'll visit friends in other parts of the country, and it might be beautiful and it might be amazing, but I need to get back here. My gratitude on show days is normally is almost always to our guests. So thank you. I know you're incredibly busy. I appreciate you carving out some time to do this. And I'm just really excited to learn more about you. And then, I just, when you said you were talking to someone that's new to the firm and maybe new to New York, I was talking to some of our leadership team about this the other day and just how powerful it is that we have the opportunity to impact that person's life. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have that opportunity as well. And it's something I'm grateful for, all of the time because I have that, but it's also a responsibility, right? We need to do it in the right way. So, all right, cool. Well, so let's get to you. Tell me about yourself. Give me your the 2-minute background. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? How did you get into this industry? What drives you? Tell me.
I was born in New York and then grew up in New Jersey. And my dream growing up was to get back to New York. I would, stand on the picnic tables outside the high school at lunch and you could just see the skyline and just was always really drawn to the vibrancy of the city. Both my parents ran their own small businesses, and I think that really kind of baked in my entrepreneurial spirit and just I learned a lot about running a business from just observation with them. And, I spent definitely some time working in the family business.
Yeah.
And then I came to New York and I studied design. I went to the new school and I was able to do a BA, BFA program. So I had a really intense liberal arts training at Lang College. Studied urban studies, real, social conscious bent to everything at the new school. And then to complement that, I was at Parsons in what was then the product design department. So working on design on a very different scale than what we do here at the firm. But I loved it. I loved working with my hands. I loved designing beautiful utilitarian objects and thinking about how design can really make people's lives better. And so somehow, without a clear roadmap, over the years found my way to architecture on the business side and kind of everything clicked together.
That is a very fascinating story. And so tell me a little bit about that, right? How does that background translate to running an architecture business? How's it? And I find it's interesting because sometimes thinking outside the box or having the exposure outside the box is actually what's most necessary, right? To get into what you're doing. So do you find that to be true?
I think so. I think that because, I spent some years doing sales in the design industry, but, that experience was really valuable. Having to really present directly to clients and, was it something that was of value for them? I mean, that firsthand experience was incredibly valuable. So I ended up coming into architecture on the marketing side and bringing that experience in sales and then bringing my understanding of design, my respect for architecture, and a bit of a translator then between, the experience and the profession that most people here have and what our clients are looking for and what they're seeking. And so enough of a distance that sometimes it's really been able to, I think, help see beyond what's happening today more strategically about how to really build a business to support the goals.
I love that. And I think you've probably you're like a shining light in that. It's rare that maybe someone on from the business side or the non-technical side gets elevated to that level. But those roles are just so critically important to the business overall. I know like our director of pursuits is like he and I talk all the time, right? Because that's really the main
That's the
focus here.
future. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what are we
Yeah.
doing next? And so, but obviously you have great exposure to the architecture side. So tell me a little bit about that, right? How do you define like success, or how does the firm define success in architecture today, right? From obviously there's a financial component, but there's social, right? I know you're a big civic justice advocate. And then also environmental, right? There's huge environmental implications. Tell us, like, how do you guys define success?
I've been in architecture now for 25 years and here for, more than 15. And I've really been fortunate that every firm I've worked with really has a, clear commitment to doing incredible work and to really affecting positive change. The That's taken on a little bit of a different flavor at each firm, and, part of the reason why I was really drawn here because of a clear commitment to public good, which really resonated with everything that I believe in. And so for us, for success, we really everything has to have a positive impact on, the urban environment, on the public realm, on the communities that we serve. And then which is, sometimes less comfortable of a conversation for architects, we also, need to have a positive financial outcome to our projects because that allows us to continue to invest in our fabulous employees, in the technology that we need, in the research that we need to do. to help advance conversations like resiliency, sustainability, to do a lot of the, training that we do in terms of, creating an equitable process to really allow opportunities for end users to participate in the design process. And when that is not possible, because in some big projects, it isn't really structured that way, for us to do enough contextual research to help channel a real understanding of what a neighborhood has, what it might need, what else is happening there, what are the other currents that we really need to be including as we think about design. So there is no, like, single, moment, and so part of my job is kind of fitting all of these things in together. We are really proud of the essential work that we do, and we only wanna do more of that. We're looking more and more, to practice regionally. Our New York City has been really great to us for 60 years. Over the last 10 years, we've really been seeking to expand beyond that because we need more different opportunities. We're really looking to continue to do larger, more complex projects where we can have even more impact.
So geographically, where would you like, is there a city you'd love to practice in or something like that?
We do you mentioned, the subway and, love of transportation. I mean, we do a lot better along train lines. Eh, um, we're working in New Haven now. That's really exciting. We're doing a large scale master plan that's really housing heavy, transit-oriented development outside, right across from the train station. Things like that. These smaller cities are, like, great opportunities for us to really bring the urbanity, the commitment to really developing public space in addition to, large institutional and residential and commercial developments. So we're really excited for that. We're doing more work we don't have a project in Newark right now, which is so close, but it's certainly a city we're really looking at. And then we started working in Philadelphia again. So I would say, like, I would add, like, Baltimore to that. DC and Boston are pretty heavy with architects, so that's a little bit more of a challenge. But growing that regional core is really important for us right now.
It's really exciting. We're, like, in a similar boat and not really related to this conversation directly, but, I love to hear that, right? Like, and, I'm in a few organizations with, like, other entrepreneurs or managing partners or principals of firms, and it's funny how we all kind of, like, no matter how big you are, there's always some level of, like, "Well, this is what I'm working towards, and how can you help me?" Or how can we help
Yeah.
each other? And you just you get more than you get out sometimes with those conversations as well. But you said something interesting there, which was, like, the success isn't, like, defined by a moment of time, and it made me think of I think it's like an Aristotle quote, but it's, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not, an act, but a habit." And it sounds like you guys have created a habit out of this, right? Like excellence on every project. And it's not because of a one singular moment in that project. It's just because of the way you guys deliver the work, in totality, which is great. Like, I think standardizing process and ensuring that there's a way to look at everything consistently, like, and systematically is so exciting. Well, so, we talked a little bit about your journey, and I want to get back to it, because I shared with you before we got on here, but, I was looking at the website a little bit, and I try to do some research. And, I see that, so Richard Dattner, right, is the founding principal from, right, and still a principal at the firm. And I'm curious, again, this is like a very personal thing, but what is that path like, right? For a founding principal to turn over, and in a lot of ways, what they probably consider their life's work or their legacy, or, like, I mean, I know how much of my life is, consumed with the business. I can only imagine it was the same for him. And so tell us a little bit about that. And then, and I know there was also the context of becoming a woman-owned business, as part of that journey. And if you don't mind touching on it, I'd just love to hear it. I think it's such a great story.
Okay, Richard founded the firm in 1964. So he, an immigrant, progressive social values, had worked at a number of different firms, but he was in his, I don't know, early 20s when he founded the firm. I mean,
Wow.
he, really incredible, the vision that he had. And it wasn't until the late 90s that he named additional partners. But still, in the context of a lot of other single founder firms, he really early on knew that in order for the legacy and the mission to continue, there needed to be other owners. So there was a generation that was brought in then, 4 partners. In 2003, there were another 4 partners came in. It was 10 years later that I came in. Since then, all the partners since I became a partner were women.
Wow.
And there was one woman in the initial bunch too, which there were not a lot of women partners at that time. And it's been a firm because of, in good part because of the, Richard's just real, openness and, willingness and excitement to just, encourage talent and reward talent where, you know, women and minorities have organically thrived. And when we don't often think of it as remarkable until you kind of look at the masthead at other firms and you realize there are a lot of our peer architecture firms where maybe there is one woman in the partnership or maybe none. And it is shocking, but true. So we realized a couple years ago that like we were at majority ownership as women. So we have 9 partners, and 5 of us are women. And Richard does still have a little bit of ownership. He has worked really hard over the years to sell down. And, but he still comes in. He's actually my roommate. We share, partner share offices, and so, what you see behind me is some of his sketchbooks and materials. He's on vacation right now. But it just is a very collaborative, open practice, and we are also always looking at what's next in terms of leadership transition. You're never done. It's certainly a big part of my job. The ability for us to continue to thrive means always having future leaders, future projects, future plans and goals. You can't stay static as a firm and survive. We have seen a lot of firms that are not able to stay independent. And that is certainly a real goal of ours. Going for the WBE certification, which is a lot of paperwork,
Yes.
we really feel like was worth it. It helped people to just, understand that we were a little bit different. We were a little bit special. And we do a lot of public work. And with every public contract, there are requirements, some of which we are now able to really take, get additional opportunities because of status. We think the portfolio is really what wins us the work, but
I think that's the difference. And like, I know this is a controversial topic right now, but I think we all want to live in a meritocratic society, right? Like, we're not asking to not be held to the same standard or to perform as well. But I think the request is like, do it as a blank slate, right? Look at both, look at all firms equally as if you didn't know anything about any of the underlying either ownership or individuals and then make the decision based on that, right? Like, and so I think it's fantastic that, you guys are able to pursue that. I think it's really exciting to hear that so many of the partners are women, which is probably really exciting for you guys as well. And only because I'm sure they're just the most qualified to be in those roles. So that's great. They deserve it.
I think too, part of, we've seen that, claiming that, that mantle of women on business too has, as I kind of alluded to, I think it's helped with recruiting even. It helps people realize that, yes, it is a meritocracy, and that if you come here and do great work, there will be opportunities for you. It is not like future leadership needs to look like past leadership, right? And there's just an understanding that we're open, we embrace, we feel like, we're a New York firm. And my goal is that, the firm looks like, the city that we serve.
I
That
love that.
only makes sense, right?
And then so I want to go back a little bit to your previous answer as well, because you said something about, also trying to find the next generation of leadership, right? Like we all have to be kind of doing that. And this is actually part of the show I love to talk about, so this will be a great segue there. But what are you looking for in that next generation, right? What is an emerging professional today or a mid-career professional today? What would you say do these things to be recognized, and in the industry or in the firm? And I was gonna drop this quote in here at some point, but I was reading a little, and I think you were in Madame magazine, right? And there's a quote there that is attributed to you and says, "I learned then what a small industry we are, right, and how by putting your best foot forward and having integrity and being open to things, opportunities would come." And so I assume that's a little bit of your advice to the next, but tell us more or elaborate on that quote, however you want to go with this.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to answer this. I mean, I feel like through our professional organizations, I was able to both get exposure to a lot of people, learn a lot, always try to be learning. And seek those opportunities. Like I was able to chair committees at the AIA. I was able to have like leadership opportunities in other places before I might have been able to have them within a firm. And that enabled me to like hone my skills, get experience, come back to the firm with more confidence. And you really encourage people to find those opportunities in the larger ecosystem of our industry to explore, to learn, to push themselves. And here, we're always looking for people who are entrepreneurial, who both, we operate in a lot of different sectors from, we're doing the new air train to Newark Airport. We do a lot of school construction authority, new schools. We do a lot of affordable housing. We do healthcare. And so we need people that have a real understanding of these typologies and have that expertise. But to be a good leader, you have to have real respect and understanding about the whole portfolio. And so many of our really exciting projects today are where these typologies intersect because that's what our cities are. And so that big picture thinking, that understanding of larger urban issues and how our work can support those are a really important part of being a leader and having that voice that is really important.
So I think there's a lot of I'm gonna break this down into a couple of different things. So one thing I heard from you, which I really thought was great, lifelong learner. And I like subscribe to that mentality too. There's always something to be learned, right? We never get to the end almost. Two, another like philosophy I love is like be entrepreneurial about the way you solve problems, right? Just because it was solved one way last time doesn't mean it's the only way to solve it this
Mhm.
time. And even when you're being entrepreneurial, sometimes you realize, hey, the last way we solved it was the best way, but at least I put the time and energy into thinking of some alternative solutions and coming
Mhm.
across from it. But the one I want to touch on most that you just said, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone really advocate for this, which is it's interesting because it's such a great idea, is find positions of leadership outside of the firm. There's so many great organizations that are in this industry and even outside this industry, right? Like leadership isn't confined to just what we do for work. And find an opportunity. I feel like in most people, I think they wait to get to a certain level in the firm, and then they go and, chair a committee or join a committee or become like a member of one of these organizations. And that was just, it was interesting. It's such a great idea. And I don't know that even I advocate for it enough internally, right? Like maybe I should have some of the younger professionals being more involved in certain organizations. This is why I love doing this. I always learn something. See, and there you go, back to being a lifelong learner.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is, there are, we learn so many different ways. And so as we're learning a little bit today about each other, that's the other, thing that's really important within our firms, right? How do we, we're only 150 people. I know that's small for some and big for others, but
Yeah.
it's, it's enough that like, I know each of the people here, in our firm, but it takes effort and time and willingness to get to know everyone, and it's really important because too, then you see some of these connections, and how do you really encourage that and help break down maybe some of what could be silos between maybe your volunteer work, your personal creative work, and your professional work. We In the old days, there used to really be, walls between all these things. And I think that, we've all talked a lot in the last 10 years about bringing your whole self to work and that idea. And I think that's also, you are everywhere we go, we're also, really, whether we're a firm leader, whether we're an architect, a planner, a designer, an engineer, I mean, that's part of what we bring to all of those places too. And when you can get all of that work in, it's just incredible.
That's great conversation. I always like to focus some of the show on the next generation because it's really the like kind of what inspired me to do any of this anyway. It's like I hope we're building the next generation of leaders to continue to build cities that we love in like a passionate way, right? But I want to also talk about some of your projects. So, tell us if there was like a project you could have the listeners either walk through or go see. What would it be? Why? And what would you want them to feel or experience as they were there?
We have so many,
I know it's always tough because everyone's and so I know it's tough because everyone's has so many great projects they want to talk about.
I mean, yesterday I was up at one of our projects that's recently completed. And it's here in Manhattan on 57th Street, and it's a women's shelter.
Oh,
Our client is Project Renewal, an incredible nonprofit. And this is a new building, and they really understood the importance of design. And we were able to really work together to create a beautiful, dignified building that really communicates respect. And on that day when you need to live in a shelter, it's really important that you're greeted with that and that the spaces that, we all deserve to have a place to live. We all deserve a place to feel safe and secure and to be treated with respect. And in I hadn't seen the project since early on in construction. And we were doing photography yesterday, so I was able to spend most of the day there. And just from that, initial walking down the street and seeing the building at the end of the block, and, you wouldn't expect that it's a shelter building. It looks like a market rate residential building. And then just that sense as you come through the front courtyard of, connection between outdoor and indoor and this moment of repose, um, to then walking through and both, the services in terms of, really, residential units. And then also there's an incredible uh, clinic that will serve the healthcare needs of both residents and also other people that project renewal services. And so just that like integrated program and a, flow within a building that really works, a really sophisticated, beautiful material palette that's both uplifting and calming. And you walk away feeling like, yeah, design does make a difference. And this project will positively impact lives. And hopefully this project will really be a bridge for people into an easier life. And so I think, that's always what we want. We want people to understand how this essential architecture that we do is beautiful, is equitable, is sustainable, and is the all the care that goes into it.
Those types of projects just hit the hardest in, isn't it? Like, I try to practice gratitude a lot, but when someone says something like that, it just like takes me back to that level. Just, whatever challenges or problems that we have, right? And I'm sure we all have our fair share, but just gratitude that, we're probably in positions to get through them. Hopefully we are, right? I don't want to speak for everyone. And someone in a situation that maybe is seeking help at a shelter, they deserve to be treated with respect, and they deserve to be treated well, and they deserve to, like, one of the part of that question I asked you was like, what emotion would you want them to feel? And it was about an audience member, but I think, you went even deeper than that. It's about the user, right? And the person living there, and hopefully they feel empowered and inspired and like, hey, tomorrow's going to be okay, because I'm sure whatever's going through their mind on that day is probably not such
Yeah.
great thoughts or feelings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the impact you're probably having on people's lives, and you may never see it, right? I mean, that also happens with a lot of our work. We kind of, we only take it to like, to days like photography, but when it actually impacts people's lives, we may not always get to be there, but we should. I'm sure you feel a certain sense of like, wow, I really made a big, like a positive difference here, and I know it's gonna last for the next decades, right? How for as long as that building is in is being utilized. So
Well, and that is like an incredible component, I think, of the work we do and the legacy that we have here in the firm is I often get the opportunity to go back and see a project that's 10 years old and being people. I mean, it's not our project anymore, right?
yeah,
It's, we do our work, we hand it over, and then it really, like, lives its best life, right? And if we've done our job, it's really able to support, you know, those kids and teachers who are, bringing life to that space every day, or, the residents, or even, like, stand in, the subway station and just watch everyone go by in a station we've designed. And you just, that's to me, that's really like the success of our work. Um, and when you get that opportunity to like overhear someone talking about the place and how special it is for them, that's just like so beautiful.
so exciting. Yeah, I will just maybe I won't agree with you on one point. I still consider them my projects. We walk through the city, and I'm like, we worked on that one. We worked on
Well,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But the reality
I
is,
know,
right?
I know.
Like, but yeah, yeah.
It's over.
Listen, we have a big map in the lobby here where we have, it's of, all five boroughs and a little bit beyond. And we put pins in for each of our projects. We're really proud. And it is always one of the really kind of cool things when someone starts working here, as you usually hear, them then realize that some of these projects that they've been like walking by or even went to school at, or a park they grew up playing in was something that we designed because of this like 6-decade legacy for us.
It's really
And
cool.
like, yeah, it's,
I want to come see it one day. I'm gonna come look at.
anytime, any,
I know we have a few like developer clients, and they always do the I I guess they're adding to it constantly. I don't know how, but they have like the 3D map of
the
and then
mega
but their
models.
buildings will
Yeah.
be yeah. It's really cool. We don't have anything like that, but maybe we should. But
I mean, those are awesome, right? Yeah. Yeah.
it's really cool. I'm gonna ask you one last question before, and then we're gonna jump into a lightning round and be some fast fire fun questions. But is there like a quote or a mantra that you like subscribe to or like or would like to share?
I think that I too am a huge believer in gratitude and the importance of that as a as a practice. It has made me a better person. I think age old do unto others is really guides me if I am ever unsure about, how to approach something. I really, really try to look at, you know, how is this going to feel from all different perspectives? And if I wasn't the one making the decision, but I was the one who was being affected by the decision, how would it make me feel? And what would I want to hear? And so I think that pushing myself to not be the center of the universe is has been a really uh, core part of my belief as being a good leader.
And it's like that's what makes a leader great, right? Is are you empathetic and able to understand how the decisions you make impact others? Because it's really easy to see how a decision is going to impact you, right? It might be great for you, but is it great for everyone else involved? I love that. It's really nice sentiment. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's jump into our sample lightning. Our lightning round. If your choice, right? A favorite book or movie or TV show.
I love to read. I read a lot. I feel like whatever I'm reading right now is usually my favorite book. Right now I am reading 10 Birds That Changed the World. I'm only on bird 8, but this the way this book is written is really a history lesson in so many different things and not just ornithology or conservation. Um, but social history, political history. And so using something like that as an opportunity to really see is really just, I love that. And it's another way, like, I feel like I'm always learning.
Yep. I do a lot of I do you physically read or do you do audiobooks
I
or
do. I physically read.
so where do you do that? Like, or is it like at home? Do you just carve
At
out time? I
home.
find so
Yeah.
much I
Yeah.
can't find time, but I do a lot of audiobooks and that's helped me because I
Yeah.
want to keep learning.
Yeah. I
Um,
try to do it on the subway, but then like the email is just, there's
yeah.
always stuff to respond to. So on the weekends, in the evenings. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. If current occupation aside, there's anything else in the world you could be, anything, what would you want to be?
I would love to be an anthropologist. I think that would
Really?
be fascinating. Absolutely. Yes.
And is there any, like, specific, region of the world you'd want to go and, I mean, I guess Egypt is, like, maybe everyone's, but do you have a different one in mind?
I think, just probably something that's less known. Because it's about the discovery and about that, trying to understand what other people's lives were like.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Um, and I recognize you said anthropology, and I went to archaeology, and that was a faux pas on my part, but very cool. If you could pick a project or building in the world that you haven't worked on already, that you could work on, what do you think it would be? And we'll manifest it.
Oh, how cool. Would love um to do a really big bridge. We've been
Oh, cool.
working on some pedestrian bridges, which are pretty big, but to really, to do a really large bridge, I think would just be incredibly cool.
Very cool. It's like an iconic like the Brooklyn Bridge is just so iconic, right? It's so cool.
And that like civic space that it creates and the transportation, like it just, yeah.
All right, we're gonna manifest it. So one day you're gonna call me back and be like, "Remember when we talked about that amazing bridge project I wanted to work on? We did it. I put the pin in the map, and it's awesome." Last one. I know you're a New Yorker through and through. So, favorite pizza spot in New York?
Gosh, over the years, there've been so many. I live in Brooklyn now. I live in Crown Heights,
The
and
heart of good
there's
pizza. That's
there's a great place called La Flor that's on, Classen that I just love, love.
very cool. For Valentine's Day a few years ago, my wife also just loves pizza, but, I think most people probably do. But we did, like, 5 pizzeria, like, tour, and I'm the engineer, so I have a Google sheet. We rated all kinds of different things. We rated, like, the dough and the sauce and the cheese and the grease but we went to a bunch of places. So we went to, like, DeFara, we went to F&F, we went to, this was years ago, so I don't remember all of them. But I gotta tell you, like, all of them were very good slices. A lot of good time.
I am definitely paying. I mean, I worked in one of my many jobs, growing up was in a pizzeria. So I worked in a pizzeria for 3 years in high school. So, yes, there is plenty of pizza that I will not eat because, and I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist. I mean, I like some fun toppings, but it
Plain slice, is that what you're saying?
well, no, but, like, the dough's gotta be good,
Oh, yeah.
I think it needs to have red sauce, I think it needs to so
I definitely like sauce on my pizza. I'd rather more sauce and less cheese if I had to pick one or the other. I love sauce. I love sauce on, like, anything, though. I just it's just, one of those things for me. All right, cool. Well, with that, I mean, that's, we're up at the end of the show. Do you, anything you'd like to say, final thoughts or parting wisdoms?
well, I think, you've talking about pizza, right? This is you need to know what you love in work and the things that really motivate you. There's plenty of stuff we all have to do every day that is not as much fun, but to make sure that there's enough, joy and excitement and interest for you personally in your job, I think that's, critical to success. So finding that passion is what I just really hope everyone is able to do. And I think that really allows us to thrive.
Wow. I could not have ended the show on a better note. So, I hope everyone finds their passion too. I think you're spot on there. Because when you are passionate about it, it doesn't feel like work, right? And there's always gonna be aspects of life that feel like work, but if you can limit those, it's pretty incredible and powerful. And, it sounds like it's something you try to do every day, right? I try to do it too, try to put my time and energy in the things that I'm passionate about so that I can make the world a better place, right? And build a better future. Well, that's all the time we have for today. We'll include links to any of the resources we mentioned in the show notes. And thanks again for listening, everybody. Keep an eye out for our next episode.
This episode is brought to you by Infinite Consulting Corp., your go-to firm for MBE certified project and construction management consulting. Discover how Infinite can help you build a better future at infiniteconsultingcorp.com.